Record, and we will get started here. Like I said, and let me go ahead and go through this process here. Like I said just a few minutes ago, this presentation is really something that Kendra was going to be doing, and unfortunately, she had some family medical challenges, and so she's out today. So you guys get me, and hopefully I can help you out. I'm quite confident that there's some additional stuff that she would go over. I'm going to hit some of the basics first off for this, and then probably in the next one. Now, next week is Thanksgiving week, and we will not have an office hours then, but the following week we will. So I'll probably be picking up this same topic with a little bit different content, because she has some additional things that we'll be going over. So just preparing for 2024, some of the things that you need to be doing within your business to actually prepare and get your database where it needs to be. So we're going to go over that. Again, while we're doing this, make sure that you guys pop in, raise your hand, click in the chat or whatever, any kind of questions that you have as we're going along. I'm going to try to just go through some of the very basics of things for preparing for 2024. All of you guys know who I am, Mark Stepp, Chief Innovation Officer. Won't go into a whole lot of detail there. But today's agenda, preparing for 2024, making sure that you guys know how to get help and some additional premium service stuff. We did update this slide for previous office hours. You can go out to realvolve.com/office hours and access any of the previous ones. So let's get into this. And like I said, if you guys have any questions about what needs to be answered clearer or whatever, certainly ask away. I tend to speak technical at sometimes. It's just kind of the way my brain works, and that's why I love Kendra's the way she explains it. Brings it down to a less technical version, but we'll definitely try to keep it there. So we're going to go over data cleaning and updating, making sure that as you're preparing for 2024, some of the database things that you're going to do, and again, Kendra will probably be going over other things, but making sure that your database is the best it can be for 2024, getting it prepared for that. Segmentation of your contacts, going through and the automated communications, making sure those are in line. Really enhance the client experience. One of the things that I teach a lot on through my just all the technology coaching that I've done is really going through and saying, okay, there are 4 main categories of things that you guys do in your real estate business, and I consider it the core strategies, the core elements of your business. Conversions, all the things that you do from the time you get or try to get a lead all the way till you get a signed listing agreement. Then it comes into operations. That's the O in core. So conversions, operations is everything from the time that you get that signed listing agreement all the way to closing day. R is retention. What are the things that you're doing to retain your customers in the future, and making sure that those things that you do just to remind them of yourself, and you know, it could be 3 years, 5 years, 12 years down the road before they choose to do business with you again. But definitely there's referral possibilities and other things, but you know, there can be a long gap. So making sure that you've got the systems in place to help retain those customers down the road. And then the last part of the course strategies is the E, the experience. And the E is really wrapped up into even the first three. What are those things that you do to give your clients that experience that you need, or they need, to make it memorable, make it so that it's exciting and well, sometimes you don't want it to be exciting. Sometimes you want it to be very calm and mundane, but you want to make sure that they remember the experience of the entire thing that they went through. So enhancing that client experience is an important thing. And thinking about that now for the 2024 upcoming processes that you do is something that is really important. What you're doing now, training and familiarization with the software is important. And then just referral tracking, making sure that you're tracking your referrals. And we've talked about each and every one of these throughout the year, but I want to make sure that you guys understand that these are things that, especially during this slower time in your business. I mean, every agent right now, because people have moved before school and stuff, you still have transactions happening, but it's a lot slower than it was. What can you do to prepare yourself now for the upcoming blitz? So all the things that's going to happen. So we're going to cover these different types of things. We're going to kind of switch back and forth between Realvolve on each one of these and go about it. Does that all make sense? Look good? Hope so. All right. So the one thing that inevitably, whenever you're doing stuff in your database, it gets cluttered. It gets raggedy. I mean, there's just a lot of things that can happen. You're doing different things, and there's things that you need to do, especially in this slow time, just to kind of help clean up and update your existing contact database and making sure that it's the best that you can do. First thing, just go through each of the different contacts, verify their details, their phone numbers, their emails, their addresses. It's incredible to me how many times people change their emails. It just unreal. So, if you go into your list of database names and stuff, and you start, and what I would probably recommend doing is going through and looking at each of your contacts. A lot of coaches will say, identify your top 50, your top 150 names and categorize them. That is nothing more than going through and making sure they're tagged. Tag them as top 50, top 150, top whatever. But looking at the information, you come into a contact, what information do you have? The phone numbers. Now, in Mary here, there's very little information, but that's actually a good thing whenever you start thinking about it. What information should I have? And if I don't have it, you know what? That's a touch point that I need to make. Hey, Mary, just wanted to touch base with you. I was going through my database, cleaning up records. I noticed I didn't have your new phone number or your email or whatever, and making sure that you contact them. Hey, thank you so much. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Talk to you later. That touch point, you don't necessarily have to say, hey, do you know anybody that might be buying and selling a home? But that touch point is something that at least you've made that touch and are able to do some additional stuff with your database, getting it cleaned up. Then it becomes less awkward the next time you call them. Hey, Mary, I was updating my database the other day. I called you and we talked about some things. And then you can go in and do some stuff, just building that rapport and stuff. Anytime you have blank data, that's a key element of a touch point, figuring out what to do. And we're going to go over some more of this, but make sure that you use this time now to go through and clean up those missing pieces of information. Checking for duplicates. One of the things that happens regularly, unfortunately, and we try to prevent it, but there are things that just happens, and especially if you've got teams or whatever. If you're going in and you're adding records to your properties, your transactions, we've got this people section where you can, obviously put in contact information. So many times, instead of maybe doing a quick search, or if you're in here and you search for a name or whatever, and you don't see the other agent's name or something, and you just type it in and you fill it in, yet it is in the list somewhere. And here we got a couple Mary Smiths or whatever. You get to a point where you can have duplicate records, and not that there could be two people. I know Jose Lopez, there's a lot of Jose Lopez, John Smiths, Mary Smiths. There are lots of names that duplicate that are different people, and dealing with that is one thing. But whenever they are duplicate and get put into the database, you really need to merge those together and do some data cleanup. So the best thing that you can do is, whenever you're coming into your database, looking at, you can do the view all option here to view all your names. What I would probably end up doing here is coming in here and saying, okay, let's order by either first name or last name, and either ascending or descending, and just look at the names and see, do I have duplicates? And if I do have duplicates, check to see, is this really a duplicate, or is this somebody that just has the same name as somebody else? And if they do have duplicates, duplicate names, then go through the process of selecting. You can go through very easily, and just as an example here, I've got multiples of these, but they are different people here, and we're going to go over this particular one here. But if you do have multiples that are in there, they really should be merged together. Just selecting the two records. Up here at the top, you can click on merge duplicates, and it's going to merge whichever ones you have selected. Now, you don't want to go through and mark all the different duplicates, because it'll try to merge all of them into one record. Actually, there's a limit to that, to the number of records you can do in there. But if you got 3 or 4 records of agents that have been put in there or whatever, clean those up, bring them together, and make sure that those are clean. The other one is unknown contact. So this came up today with one of our other users. You can get to a situation where you've got a bunch of unknown contacts, and where in the world did they come from was the question. And ultimately what it comes from is, whenever you're in Realvolve, you can set up in your settings area a SMS section here. So whenever you're setting up SMS and doing stuff, actually that's the dialer. Whenever you're doing stuff with SMS, people can see that number at times, and maybe you've got something on a flyer, you've got something on a card, you've got something that shows your SMS number somehow, some way, and they've texted it. If they text that number, the very first thing that happens is that Realvolve will say, hey, do I have this contact? And if I do, let's start this conversation on that contact. If that contact is not known, then it will create an unknown contact. It'll create a contact in the database for you. Now, unfortunately, that could be people sending spam. It, we really have no good way of stopping that. Now, with the most recent A2P 10 DLC rules that have come out, and we were, one of the many companies that were required to make some changes to how SMS is handled in the United States, anyway. And you have to be identified. You have to know who they are. There's lots of rules and stuff. So there's going to be less and less spam coming in, people sending text messages, but unfortunately, it's still going to happen. And what happens is it creates that unknown contact. One of the things that I do really recommend that you guys do is if you get these unknown contacts on occasion because your number has gotten out, create some kind of workflow that reminds you to do something with that. It could be as simple as saying, hey, text this person back and ask them for their name. And so what you can do then is whenever the text message comes in, it creates the unknown contact. The workflow can be selected here that says, hey, based off of them sending an SMS to my number, I want to start a workflow, and that workflow immediately sends back another text saying, hey, you're not in my database. I'd like to know who you are and see if I can help you with your real estate needs. Please answer the following questions or whatever. And then by doing that, whenever, if they are a legitimate contact, you then get their information back. Then you can go back into your contacts, and maybe one of the things is a reminder to yourself, update this contact in your database. But we can go into the contacts and just do actually, let me just do it this way. Search for name and do unknown. So what it will do then is it will find any contacts in your database that are unknown contacts, and I've got a bunch of them in here. But what it does then is it will have their phone number, whatever was used to SMS into it, the unknown contact. But if you have sent them any kind of correspondence or whatever, it will be in this list. And if they reply back as an SMS, they're going to have some information, hopefully about themselves. You can then take that information and fill it into the database and get your database cleaner than what it was. I did a book giveaway type thing, my Our Best Workflow Secrets book, and basically said, okay, text this number if you're wanting this book. And you can get it on Amazon. It's all about workflows and how to do things. But what this does is this gives me a way to say, hey, if somebody comes in that I don't have in my database, I can then turn around, create a workflow, have it respond back. And even on a regular, it doesn't have to be just a one-shot workflow. It can be multiple things and doing over time and knowing who they are. So just an important thing to deal with there. Any questions on that? Okay. Update client profiles, same type of thing. Add your recent interactions, your transactions, and any other relevant notes, making sure that you get those. Now is a great time, especially if you're looking at their Facebook profiles, kind of look and see what their likes and dislikes are, and doing some just general data additions, tagging them for certain things, making sure that if they like certain sports or whatever, put that in the system so that you can do things with them. And why is this important for 2024? I guess might be a thought here. The whole idea of segmenting your contacts, which is one of the things we're going to talk about, is helping you identify people that you need to do stuff with. And if you can't identify them well, you're not going to do as well. So that's what it really kind of comes down to, is just making sure that you can identify them and the things that they do. Cleaning out inactive contacts. Now, if somebody has moved out of the state, you just don't deal with them anymore unless they've got family. You may want to tag them in that, that they're inactive. Use the inactive flag. If you would never do anything with them, just kind of reach out to them if they've never engaged. It's probably a good time to do some cleanup. Just clean out some of the junk that's in there. There's names in there that you may need for historical purposes, and definitely keep that. But if all you've been doing is just corresponding with them, they moved out of the area, you will likely never see them again. The possibility of deleting them is one thing. Otherwise, just mark them as inactive, and then that way, at least you've got the old information. Data consistency. Now, this is one, definitely standardizing your data. If you're going through and you're seeing phone numbers in different formats, and we try to format the phone numbers for you, but inevitably people can type in how they want their format to be. And while that seems a small thing, do you want to be looking at all your phone numbers like this, or do you want them broken up, into brackets or dots or whatever? So just making some consistency is important. The other thing is, cleaning up the tags themselves and making sure that you've removed any kind of duplicates in your tags. Now, in your tags area, if we go into tags, we do, within the system, try to automatically remove any tags that are not being used. So if you had a tag on a contact and you delete that contact, or you deleted that tag and it was the last tag on there, it'll remove itself from the list. You will no longer need it. Now, there are times when you want to keep certain tags, and what I typically do is either tag a document and just keep of tags that I want to keep all the time, so that they're always available, or tagging a contact, my own contact record, with certain tags that I want to always keep. But looking through your tags and seeing if there's any duplicates, inevitably there's going to be, birthday versus a capitalized birthday or something. And the easiest thing, so like here we've got client care and client care system. What's the difference? Probably not anything. So I could come in here and say, well, what's on client care? Well, actually, there's nothing there. That could be something, a document or something. Neither one of these have contacts, properties, transactions. They're probably templates of some sort. But if you've got two things that are the same and you want to merge them together as one, pick one of them. Like, if I want them to both be client care system, I can go to the one that's not client care system, click on it, and say client care system, put that in there, and then it will take anything that is client care, whether it's a document, Word, whatever, and it will put it in as one client care system. It gets rid of the duplicates. And that's just an easy way of dealing with and making sure that you get all your people into one group versus multiple groups. So there's some cleanup items there that you can do. Any questions there? No? All right. Integrating, actually, this one Oh, no. The integrating your latest transactions. Now, hopefully, whenever you're going through your transaction process itself, you're actually making sure that um, everything is updated at that time. But one of the things that we do recommend is, at the end of the year, go back in and do a list of your closed records. So just come in here and find anything that's closed, and then between a certain date range. So let me reset this to January 2023 to December 31st, 2023. So, and this is just a trainer database, not a whole lot of stuff in here, but however many transactions that you've got that you did this past year, take a look at them and see that everything has been closed out good. Number one, potentially even you may want to say, well, I also want to check my pendings or my contingencies or whatever, but definitely the ones that have closed, and look at who are the buyer, who are the sellers, go to them, make sure that their records have been updated appropriately, make sure that the addresses have been changed, the information, referral, all that kind of stuff has been updated on them. Hopefully you've been doing that all along. So it might be not needed, but a lot of people don't. And just easily going through there and looking at the old information, looking at the people that are involved. Did we get everybody, all the party members that were pertinent to this transaction in there, and making sure that that's clean. By doing it now for 2023, you'll know that whenever you start 2024 off, you don't have a lot of old data out there just sitting around not doing anything. Also, your numbers, all your sales prices, your commissions, all that kind of stuff for 2023 is up to date. So whenever you do your tax stuff, all that information is up to date as well. So that's an important part of it as well if you're using the commissions area. For those that do, making sure at the end of that, I should have said this as well. For your clients, either the buyer or the seller or both, whoever they are, make sure that you put them on some kind of long-term nurturing workflow of some sort. People are keeping their houses longer. It used to be 3 to 5 years, and they'd move to something else. And while that's still true for some, the time frame is extending out 12, 15 years at times, and you need to have some kind of system that keeps you top of mind at times whenever somebody's talking about real estate. Hey, I had a great experience with my real estate agent. Here's some information. So you get better referrals and stuff, keeping them informed of what you're doing and how you're doing it. So go to your people tab, make sure that if they were your buyer, your seller, that you've got them in the database. This one doesn't even have that in there. But once they are in there, go to those records, make sure that they've got some kind of long-term workflow assigned to them. The other thing is during your closings, make sure that if you're doing any kind of HUD-1 type email going out, that you're dealing with that. I typically, recommend that you go through. You've identified your sellers and your buyers, and mark them, put them on. So at the beginning of the year, you send them a copy of the HUD-1 and information, letting them know that they're going to need that for taxes, and going through that process of updating them with information that they may not have at their fingertips, and making sure that that's available. And that is very simple whenever you're in their contact record. And Um, you've uploaded the document, tagging it with HUD1, and then whenever you're sending out your emails, sending it with anything with HUD1 on it. So it makes it super simple, but making sure that the HUD is actually tagged with HUD or whatever. Any questions on that? I know we've gone over that in previous office hours, but that's definitely something that it's a system. It's making sure that you've got things in place to be able to handle those. Workflow updates. Now, one of the things that we continually teach is, whenever you're going through and using a workflow, let me just pull up one of the closing workflow. I should have chosen. Yeah, this one's really not even the right one. But let's say, for instance, you've got down here at the bottom, closing day, sending the thank yous, updating the client information, post-closing audit. No, it's not on there. One of the things that you can do is come in here and say, well, whenever I'm closing, whenever I'm going through that process, I want to make sure that I add a tag of closed 2023. And maybe I want to add that to the contact, the seller or whatever. Make sure that whatever workflows, if you do that, you include that 2023 in there, that you go in and you change your tags so that now it says 2024. And then the following year, 2025. Those tags, if you're having it automatically add the tag and you don't update them, then you're going to get some tags that are the wrong year. So just make sure that you deal with that. Tags that include year. Verify past client workflows engaged. We already talked about that. It really just kind of comes down to looking at your past clients. The other thing that I've got a framework that I talk about called design, build, run, repeat. And the idea of design, build, run, repeat is not really in perfection, but in consistent growth. So whenever you build a workflow, and I know many of you guys use the navigators to help build those workflows, but as you're going through, there was a process where we designed them, we built them into Realvolve, and you run them, okay? And every time you run them, you're basically testing your system process. Is it working well for you? Is it doing the things that it needs to do? At the end of that workflow, whenever it finishes, you really need to go through a mental test. It's like, did everything go the way I wanted it to go? Did the process pan out the way it should have? And if it did, great. If it didn't, what do we need to redesign? And that's where the repeat part comes in. What is it that we could have done better? What is it that we could have done differently? If I'm constantly getting an email from my buyer saying, hey, what's the status of this? And whatever it is, if that happens more than once, that means you need to put something in your workflow that sends that status preemptively, that sends that information to them prior to them asking for it. Because if they're having to ask for it, you're missing something in your step. So whenever we go back and we do the repeat part of it, that means go back, redesign. And it doesn't mean redesign everything. It just means look at what went right, what went wrong, what changes should I make? Change the design a little bit, build it into Realvolve, and then at the next run, test it. Did it work better that time? And if it did, great. If it didn't, if there's something else that needs to do it, then you're just constantly going through. So you're doing this design, build, run, repeat constantly through until your processes are wonderful. They do what they need. They may have started off with 5 steps, just 5 simple pieces, even 1 step, I guess. But at the end of maybe a year worth of using this, it may have grown to 20 steps. And each time that you run through it, you're just perfecting that process. Just like McDonald's, just like Burger King. I mean, the way they make their sandwiches, they're made to make them quick and get them consistently through the order line. Now, I'm not saying that you want the same quality as McDonald's or Burger King, but you at least want the consistency, the ability to run people through the process. And again, it comes back to those core strategies and making sure that you give them the experience that they deserve and need. Segmentation, we already talked about this. Really enables you to send relevant information to different groups of contacts that are based off of their specific needs, preferences, and where they are in the sales process. So whenever we talk about segmentation, most of the time we're talking about tags. We're talking about making sure that we do different types of classifications. So identifying the segmentation of where they're at could be demographic, it could be historical information on the transaction, communication preferences. Do they prefer email versus SMS or vice versa? What kind of property interests do they have? These are all different things that you need to be segmenting and putting into the database so that you can pull them out. Now, again, why is this important for 2024? Well, whenever you start getting new properties, people are looking for certain types of properties or information about things that about. If you've got them segmented, if you've got contacts segmented in your database, you can very easily pull them back. You can get them out and draw those names out of the database instead of looking through them sequentially. I mean, that would be an extremely painful process. Definitely consider life events. Did they get new jobs, marriage, retirement, babies? All these things are things that are important to update your contacts with. And as you're updating them, making those phone calls, making the touches that you need to make that relevant. But if they're getting a new job, that could mean they got promotions. They could mean they want to move up to a different home. They got married. They need more space. They got more kids. They need more space. They're retiring. They need less space. These are all things that can instigate the need for moving. You guys know this, but it's a matter of identifying it in your database. What are the things I'm doing? So what are some of the fields that we use for all of these? Your categories, your ABCD categories that's in every contact record. Got here. Making sure that you categorize them in a way that makes sense to you. Now, typically, A's are better than B's, B's are better than C's, C's are better than D's, and there is an option for not selected at all. But how you utilize those is totally up to you. We do put some scoring mechanisms to those categories. The higher the alphabet in scoring, it scores it better. So definitely utilize that. But by doing A's and B's, if you've got something that's really exciting that you want to tell your best customers, you're able to very quickly pull up your A's and your B's and be able to do things. Or your top 100 if you're using tags, your top 50 or whatever. Sending out information is extremely important whenever you're doing that, and segmentation is about that. Classifying on the contact type, stage, status, and type. So if you go into the contact under classifications, making sure that these things are up to date and where they need to be. Again, you most of your people are going to be in client, but if you're doing some kind of farm group, you're farming an area, they could be farm. If they do become a client, make sure you put them into the client's area, not just plain farm. Personals and stuff to watch out for. What stage are they in? The aware, know, like, and trust. These are ways to identify very easily the types of people that you want to deal with. And if it's something, you want to help people be more aware of you, and you want to target the aware, the people that don't know you very much, some very basic information about you, your services, and things like that, you can pull them up very easily. What status are they? Suspect, prospect, lead, client, past client. Changing between client and past client is extremely important. Whenever we talk about the contact status, we do have client here and we've got client here. The type means that they are a client or past client or whatever. This is really the status of where they're at in the process of the transaction. Are they an active client or are they a past client? Were they just a lead or suspect and prospect? Suspect means I got a name and phone number and that's all. I've not sent anything to them or whatever. Prospect is I'm actively starting to prospect. I'm sending out emails, but maybe they've not actually responded back to me. Once they respond back to me, then they become actually a lead. So kind of the thought process there. If you are dealing with leads, you're bringing in leads from a website, we do have this area here for keeping track of, when did you get that lead? What is that lead status? If they come in and you've contacted them, you're going through the process. At some point, maybe they become a client. You've closed them. Make sure you change this as well. Close. We won the lead. We closed on them. That's a great status to be doing some searching and stuff off of. All of these are just different ways of segmenting and utilizing the data that you've got in the best way so that you can, whenever your business starts booming again, got the slow time now, but it's going to happen again, where you're busy as all get out and you're getting property information, you're getting new listings, you're getting all this stuff, and you need to be able to market to your people. How do you market to people if your data is not in good shape? So that's really what it comes down to. And actually, that's a duplicate there. I want to leave time for questions, and I know a lot of this was just data related stuff, and we're going to go over, like I said, Kendra will probably go over some actual workflow processes that she uses. But these are the things that if you're prepared now with good, clean data in your database, you can do so much better because you're not running a lot of junk and sending out bogus information. Any questions or anything that didn't make sense? I either bored you to death or covered it. All right. that's pretty much all I wanted to go over, just making sure that you guys understand the importance of having a good, clean database in preparation for 2024. If you have workflows that you're got dates with, that's a very common one. Make sure that you've corrected your workflows for 2024 items. Make sure that you've updated your tags for 2024, and kind of go from there. More in 2024 next time. We do plan on stop focusing on the noise. There's a lot of things that are happening in the background that you don't need to worry about. We'll be talking about that, and your systems that need systems, and we'll talk about that. Another reminder, next week we do not have office hours, so happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with your friends and family, relatives, and hope that time you spend is spent well. We're not guaranteed a tomorrow. So if you guys need help for additional things, we've got lots of different help. Everybody knows about that. And just leave some additional time. We got 10 more minutes. If anybody has questions about anything else, be happy to answer whatever other questions. Let's see. All makes good sense. Great.
Mark?
Yes.
This is Steve. I have a question for you. So on our tasks menu on the left side underneath the Realvolve logo, there's 90 tasks listed, but they're not all showing up on the left-hand side, and there's no additional pages, where you could go and see more tasks. So I'm just wondering, is there something I'm missing here?
Probably not. Let me explain that one for a second.
Okay.
And let me get. Can you text me your email?
Yeah.
Or in the chat.
Okay. Let me see here.
Or if you want to keep it private, I guess. What
okay.
I can do.
I don't think anybody's going to spam me.
Yeah. No. I'm going to mute you just for a second here because I'm hearing a lot of echo from you. Okay. Just for a second here. So we have been working on several changes within the system for stability, updates, and different things. And the last piece that we've been working really, really hard on is the activities piece because of this very problem that you're bringing up. There is a situation in the system where there are some indexes. There's some information that we index and we store, and that information on the index part of it, how we reference and bring up those records quickly or supposedly, can get messed up. And we can fix that, and I can fix that real quick for you once I get your email address, just so that it fixes it. But it doesn't fix the ultimate cause of it, and we've been working on that. One of our lead engineers has been working hard at redoing how our entire calendar system is set up without breaking it and making it a shambles. So I'm hoping by the end of this week we'll be pushing an update that will alleviate this for everybody, so we don't have to deal with it anymore. But what can happen in that case is whenever you go in, the index part of it says, okay, there are 90 activities, but you're not seeing them all. And it's because the index says, hey, you've got 90, but in actuality, you don't. You've got a certain number of them, so the count can be off one way or the other, and we know the cause, we know what it is, but it ultimately is because we're redoing the entire calendaring system. So I will get that fixed up for you and make sure that that is all set for you. Give it about 5-10 minutes and reach out to me, mark@realvolve.com, if you still have problems in about 15 minutes. If anybody else has that problem as well, certainly reach out to me. It's something we can fix. It's a temporary fix, though. It could come back very easily until we get this update out. And you can unmute if you need to talk again, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mark. There's two other members on our team. Should I provide you their email addresses too?
It'll take care of it for the entire subdomain.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Any other questions? All right, guys. Thank you so much for attending today. I know it was probably less interesting than what Kendra might have given you, but it's important information. I know we run into this every year with people just not keeping their data clean, and it's extremely important that you do. So if there's anything else I can do for you, certainly reach out, mark@realvolve.com. Otherwise, you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will see you that next Wednesday after Thanksgiving. Have a great day. Bye.